The indie apocalypse is upon us. It comes for you and me, and it's going to last until all of us make $0 a day. So the independent developers are getting extinct on the Apple ecosystem, and we're worried about it. So I first heard about the indie apocalypse in the context of a bunch of blog articles that were featured on iOS Goodies, one of my favorite iPhone newsletters. And it was issue number 38 from last summer. So Apocalypse was used to describe the downfall of independent developers. And it was inspired by an abundance of blog posts on the topic. But do you remember the great App Store gold rush when everything was fresh and new and you could just stay up late at night, pull something together, and then send it to the App Store and get rich overnight? That was great. It was 15,000 apps on the App Store, which we thought was pretty much, and we were all super excited. That was just great. And I was also very excited about it. And I still remember one dark winter night in Berlin many years ago where snow was falling from the skies and some bunch of wolves were howling in the distance. And around 3 in the morning, I installed my provisioning profile, and then it was all beautiful. So after 4 rejections, we finally got into the App Store, and Apple HQ from London wrote us and asked for marketing materials and things like that. And I really felt that it was fantastic times. But that's over with, right? So that's done with. So what happened meanwhile? Why, in the words of RayWenlick.com, or just Ray Wenlick, there's a sense of doom and gloom over the community. Is really the apocalypse in the end of all independent developers upon us? So let's have a look at a few of these posts that inspired this, basically the birth of this term. First, Jared wrote a blog post about working 8 months, 60 to 80 hours a week on his app. So 60 to 80 hours a week, right? So no going out, no going to the bathroom, no just not having time for anything. So he says that his mental health and his marriage suffered, and I tend to trust him on that. So he earned $32,000 over a stretch of a year. And if you live in San Francisco, you know that's peanuts. So not very good. He was quite basically losing his motivation. Another post from the same issue of iOS Goodies was called My iOS Indie Game Numbers. And Chad here designed 3 simple games, released them on the App Store, and earned just around $500 from them. So he was also pretty disappointed, decided that being an independent developer is not very good. And finally, a more recent example with Redacted for Mac from Sam's office. Sam worked on it, he says, worked on it here and there. And he also tweeted a couple of times about it. And he only earned $302 the first day. And he was pretty disappointed as well. So, pretty bad. And no wonder, right? Like, if we look at the App Store, well, that is what you compete with. And you cannot really beat that price. So it's really difficult as an independent developer to make any dough of the App Store. And if we look at the top grossing apps on the App Store, we see Microsoft, we see Spotify, Pandora, HBO, and the worst of them all, Kim Kardashian. So, well, yeah. Thank you. So it is kind of bad, though. And it's really no wonder that independent developers are getting away from the App Store, because the whole thing gets also really stressful. For example, app review. App review is really bad. This is awful. And it actually gets people off the store. Well, there are some guidelines for how to get through this, but let's admit it, like, they just wing it as it comes. So it is something that makes your business unreliable as an independent developer. You don't have any security about it. It's pretty depressing. And finally, let's get all of this aside and have a look at my motivation to create this talk. I released this year an app called Doodle Doodle, which is a custom keyboard for the iPhone. So default keyboard doesn't really cut it for you. You can install custom keyboards since iOS 8, and I released one of those. So we used the latest iOS features, right? So when iOS 8 was released, that was a new feature that Apple promoted heavily. So we decided that this is really relevant for us, and we decided to make one of those. It was unique on the App Store, maybe still is unique on the App Store. I didn't really check so thoroughly, because it lets you use smileys that are hand-drawn, so they look like they were like somebody doodled them. Somebody that can draw actually doodled them on a piece of paper. So it's pretty cool. And it works with, so it's well integrated. It works with a lot of chat apps. So we did a lot of preparation. We did a developer blog. So, you know, oh, today I added this and this, and you know, this code is here. So, you know, not putting any pressure on you. You can use it, buy the app when it comes out, things like that. And we did a lot of graphical artwork. So we put like banners and shared things for free. You know, all these things that usually we've seen people in the past being successful with. We actually also produced a video ad about the app, and I really want to show it to you today just to show you how much effort we put into the launch of this app. There's the video.
If you chat as much as I do, you're probably wondering, why isn't there an iPhone keyboard that gives me something more interesting than emoji but less crazy than animated GIFs? Something I can use every day with everyone. Well, now there is! Meet Doodle Doodle, an iPhone keyboard that gives you more than 300 stickers to express just the emotion you're looking for. It's really easy to use, the stickers are hand-drawn, and the name is Doodle Doodle.
Alright, so, you know, I don't really want to say that it's really good, but I kind of like it. So this is what we did. So we put a lot of effort into preparing all kind of stuff for this launch. And based on the amount of preparation that we did, this was the expected result, kind of that we expected. So basically a big bag of money. However, that's not exactly what happened. So what happened was instead, Xcode 6, aka 60 source git crashes per second. It happened Swift 1.0, aka oops, arrays shouldn't work like that, and happened the iOS 8 SDK. Basically, we didn't think this through. So, but you know, these are technical problems, and I, being a moderate to good programmer, or maybe above the average, let's say, you know, got over those problems because they're technical problems. We solve them, then it's all good. But then we came to actually, you know, finalizing our business model. So how we actually make money from this, because being an independent developer, you actually have to make money, right? So we came to the business plan, and then we hit a wall because Apple makes sure that you cannot earn money with the keyboard app. Very weird. So one, you cannot show ads in the keyboard. That kind of makes sense. Two, keyboards cannot have in-app purchases for whatever reason. And third, your keyboard cannot link to like the full app, right? Where you can have in-app purchases. So basically, the only way to earn money from it is to charge for the app, which we know does not really work for independent developers so well. Almost never. So it was a hard hit to take, right? But we said, okay, we don't care about the money. We do it for the fun. How about that? However, Apple was still not happy. And because there were further restrictions that they did not really publicly announce. They had to call us in the middle of the night on the phone to tell us about them, like some kind of mobsters. But we got over this too. So we removed all features from the app that for whatever reason were not publicly restricted, but still Apple didn't like them. And we put the app in the App Store. Good. However, if any of you had ever installed a custom keyboard on the iPhone, you know that once you purchase the app and download it, you need to go through a rather cumbersome process of installing the keyboard, which is you have to open the app once, then close it, then goes to settings. In settings, you need to scroll to general, select general, go into general, find the keyboard item, go inside, find the keyboards item, which is another one inside it. Then you need to look for the add new keyboard option, go inside, find the keyboard that you just downloaded, select it. Then that will install the keyboard, but it will still not allow it to work. So you have to select the keyboard once more, and then you go to a screen where there's a single switch that says allow full access. And once the user taps the switch, this is what they see. And I read through here for you. Full access allows the developer of this keyboard to transmit anything you type, including things you have previously typed with this keyboard. This includes sensitive information, such as credit card number or street address. So, allow or don't allow. And so I really feel that we did our part. You know, like in this deal, we did our part. So there was somebody who came to the App Store and maybe searched for us, and they found our app on the App Store via search, which is really difficult, but they did it. And then they were asked to pay in advance for something they didn't really try. And they also did that, which is amazing. And they download and install the thing, and when they actually wanted to use them, Apple tells them we're going to steal their credit card. So yeah. So after I laid everything down for you, you can imagine that this was the result of our launch. And just not to be abstract enough, this is actually what we made. So 768 euros over half a year. And since we are two, I'm the programmer and I have a partner who's an artist, that actually brings it down to 384 euros for me, of which I have to subtract my hospital bills, which brings it to minus 316. And so you're gonna ask, why do you put this bill on this app balance thingy? Well, I was at a time in Berlin when the Apple rejection letter came in, actually, which we totally did not expect. And I was reading in the bed, and so I felt pretty bad. I mean, so bad that I actually went numb. So we had to call up an ambulance. And so what happened was pretty much this. Okay. What is going on here? My left half is numb, and I can't breathe so well. Schnell, make him an EKG. Oh, my boyfriend, don't die on me. Let's see about it. Come with us if you want to live. Okay. So they did not really say, come with us if you want to live, but we had to go to the hospital and we had to pay up the bills and stuff. So it's pretty bad. It is, being an independent developer is so bad that it feels like there's no hope and we probably all gonna die. However, let me zoom out a little bit from this particular day. So imagine a timeline, if you will, where we launch this app, which is the worst day, and then, as explained, and then we can zoom out a little bit to see what I've been doing this year. So immediately, actually, I released the app from Washington. That was pretty fun. I was there for a pretty cool conference organized by RayWenlick.com. That was pretty awesome event. Then after I was back from Washington, I had a little bit of, I did a couple of weeks of work, and then I went to Bavaria where I had really good time. I think it was for Easter, if I'm not wrong. And Germans are really big on church holidays, so things like Easter and Christmas is like all cookies and beer and stuff, and it was awesome. And then after that, I went to Bali for a month with my girlfriend, so we had pretty good time there in Bali, which is a fantastic place. And before we launched the Doodle app, I was in Prague for a couple of weeks to relax before flying to Washington. And before that, I spent the autumn in Lisbon, and then before that, I was walking on foot from Portugal to Spain on El Camino de Santiago for about a month, which was also a fantastic experience. So there's some kind of discrepancy there, right? Like, it's not really that bad, or is it? So I'm having pretty good time, right? And that's not really what the Indiepocalypse is all about. So what's the problem in there? Well, some of you will say, well, Maren, me, probably has a rich family. They send money wires every week, and he can just travel around the world like that and have fun. Well, not true. I come from a piece of Europe that was controlled by Soviet Union, and we didn't really have any money, like any money. So that's not really the case. But I did work very hard because I could not afford to go to school. So if you are a student in university right now, you're much richer than me at the time. So I could not really study, so I had to start working. And that pretty much brought me to a place called Berlin to work there. So that was the worst experience in my life. So working hard didn't really help me so much. I worked in an awful company. That was the worst experience in my life. Underline that. And I was stuck there, could not leave it. That was pretty bad. So when I finally managed to quit this job, I was so afraid that I'm going to find another job like that, just by mistake, that I was sure that I'm never going to be employed again. Because I was afraid that I might stumble upon another horrible job like that. So pretty much working hard did not really help me, brought me to awful places, and I was basically destroyed and disheartened and pretty let down. And I was sure that I'm never going to work again. I did not really have an idea how, but I was sure of it. So kind of like anything goes at that moment. And actually, this is how it happened. A couple of friends flew to Berlin to visit me, and we were having dinner, and they said, wow, there's this amazing thing called the iPhone, and people are writing software for it. And you have 2 Macs. How about writing software for the iPhone together, and we be rich and stuff. And so we jumped on the tram and rode it for 20 minutes to the mall and bought an iPod Touch for 139 euros or something like this. So it took us 20 minutes tram ride plus 139 euros to make an independent software development company. And that was the best, because at this point, anything was possible. And, you know, we were all rich and famous, rode the unicorns into the sky, and there was wine coming out of the fountains, and everything was just perfect. But that's done with, right? So this does not go anymore at all, because we cannot really, in present day, launch any kind of app, like Doodle Doodle, and get rich overnight. So something is different, and there's some kind of a big problem because indies are getting off the App Store, and it feels like they're being exterminated by somebody on purpose. So I have one question. Did anyone see any Terminators recently coming out of Infinite Loop 1 Cupertino? I know the answer, no. So no, I don't think so. I actually don't think that indies are being exterminated. There is no problem, in fact, at all with the App Store. So what is the big discrepancy between all of these things that I'm talking about? all changed for me how I perceived this business while I did this course on Coursera called Developing Innovative Ideas for New Companies. It's held by Dr. James Green, and it basically talks about how is it to run a business and what kind of skills you need, and like how does it go. And besides all the different concepts that he was covering in this course, there was one that really made me an impression, and he was talking about the industry age. So he was saying that when an industry is born is the very first time that anybody can make any money out of a new technology or a new service or something. And then the industry gets into this age called infancy. Basically, it's a baby. Then it's enters the youth age, so it's like a teenager or so, and then it gets into adulthood, so it's an adult, and then dies naturally. So to give you an example, I put in a slide where I try to explain this in one single slide. Let's take the electrical telegraph industry. So in 1838, the first successful commercial service for sending telegraphic messages was launched in the US and in the UK. And so this is how the electrical telegraph services industry was born. Before that, you had to send a mail coach, and now you could just tell the operator, this is my message, and they will send it almost instantly to another place. So that was great. And then in 1850, this industry entered its youth age. So in 1850, Queen Victoria from the UK spoke telegraphically to President Napoleon in France. So there was not an intercontinental, but over watery communication via electrical telegraph. So I think that in this point, everyone was convinced that this is a viable industry and there's money to be made, and people were excited to launch their own telegraphic services. And then around 1901, the first wireless telegraphic call was made. So there was no wire on the bottom of the Atlantic anymore. You could just send it through air. And then at this point, it was pretty clear that electrical telegraph is going away. There still were people who do that, but it was clear that this is not a service that's going to last long. And there were lower margins to be made from this service because it was not that appealing anymore to people. And at this point, everyone knew how to do it, and so they couldn't really do so much money because there were so many competition. In contrast to the infancy of the industry, where very few people could launch a business like that, because not so many people knew about electricity and things like this, so it was really difficult to launch a business like that. You had to possess special skills. So if we translate this one slide to maybe the App Store, before the iPhone, we had Game Boy and Walkman and VHS cameras. And then the iPhone came out, and it had software on it, apps, things like this. But it was very difficult to enter this business because there was no SDK. So there was only one developer, Apple. It was that difficult to get on this industry. And then the next year, they made the SDK available, so anybody could then make a venture and make money this way. However, this somebody had to know pre-ARC Objective-C and how to install a provisioning profile. So it was very, very difficult. Not that many people could do it because it was not very easy. And then I firmly believe that we are somewhere in between the infancy and the youth of this industry right now, because the tooling is getting very good at about this point. So Xcode and stuff like that. And also we have a new language that makes it more appealing to do this for really an amazing number of people. So it is pretty, entry barriers are going down. More and more people can do this now. And therefore there's more competition. So things change, of course. It's not the same in the infancy of the industry and in the youth of the industry. So right now, everyone knows that there's money to be made. So we're entering the youth age. And then, technology these days progresses really fast. So maybe in, 20 years from now, people are going to be, app, the hell you mean? nobody's going to know what is this, because there's going to be something else that will totally replace this, like some sort of an electrical islands of some sort, I don't know. Something will come and wipe this industry away, and it will die naturally, because all things die. And so, since I still see some puzzlement in few people's eyes, I really want to make an example with something that we can all relate to. So, speaking about ages, the most natural thing to think about is humans. So let's have a look at how the age change relates to humans and how we develop. So let's have a look at the human infancy. What do you do when you're a baby? You lay on your back. Maybe you smile a little bit. And every now and then you let out a fart. And maybe a colorful poop. So everyone's really happy with you. They're leaving you 5-star reviews. Oh wow, a green one, 5 stars. So anything you do is really amazing. Right. Let's move on to the human youth. So how about the same things that you used to do and everybody was happy? Not that good. If you let out a fart, people are probably going to leave you a 1-star review. And a colorful poop, I really don't want to know about it. So the same products don't really work in a different age. And because it's different conditions, entry barriers are different. Anyways, everything is different. Everything is different. You can think about it and you can relate it to what are we doing on the App Store. In fact, I have slides to relate it to the App Store. Let's have a look at the infancy of the App Store. So this is how the App Store infancy looks like. iFart, the #1 farting machine. So there were more, but this one was the best. And iBeer, this time with milk as an in-app purchase. So this is how the App Store was, right? Because it's the infancy, anything goes. And how about the App Store youth? Are the same products going to work in these conditions? No. There is a guideline rule that rules them out. You cannot submit a fart app. It does not provide a lasting experience for the users, Apple says. Okay. And so, tested and proven ideas, of course, are not going to work in different ages of the industry. So, Fartly 2015 is not going to fly. RSSify, we have thousands of RSS readers. You might be able to create a fantastic app, a fantastic RSS reader, but you are most probably not going to be successful with it in terms of having money to pay rent and stuff. So probably not. And to do pro, we have way too many to-do apps. So all this is not going to work. So you have to act accordingly to the conditions. You have to act accordingly. If you want to have business that is viable, you have to be relevant to the industry age. So just throwing out some ideas. It is unlikely that your first product will succeed. It may be a fantastic product, but if people don't know about you in some way, probably they're not going to download it. So something that you put on over the weekend with your cousin and your uncle, and your cousin does your QA and your uncle does your art, and you just bundle it up and shoot it to the App Store, definitely not going to be okay. It has to be a high-quality app. So your uncle might be a great uncle, but maybe he's not that good at art. And your cousin may be good at QA, but maybe you have too many bugs for a single person. So it was a viable decision to work on your own or at your house 5 years ago in the infancy of this industry. But right now, single-man teams are not that competitive, unfortunately. So you could team up or hire people. How about that? So find other iOS developers, make a team. Together, you are stronger. Launch in a niche. So just throwing ideas at you. So when the App Store started, we thought, okay, 2 million people have iPhones now. If my app costs 99 cents and all of them buy it, I'm going to be rich. So we were naive, right? Like this didn't really work even in the beginning of the App Store. And right now it does not work at all. So right now, if you want to have an independent business, you need to appeal to people that actually need your app. So people who would buy your app on a snap decision while they're browsing the App Store because it's free or 99 cents will buy it because it's cheap, not because they actually need it. So if you're targeting people that actually need your app, you can ask for more money and they will actually be invested in it to give it a try, to see what works. And if something doesn't work, they will be more likely to actually write to you and ask you to fix it instead of just leaving you a 1-star review. So you need to act accordingly. Finally, my 5th random idea is actually hopefully not going to break your heart. Apple didn't promise you nothing. They did not really say they're going to love you. They said, we need you to make software for this thing. And what they meant was, we need to sell iPhones so they can break and we can sell more iPhones. And they can break and we can sell more iPhones until we are the richest company in the world. But now they are. So they don't need you that much anymore. And actually, if we just scroll back to the timeline, back to the introduction of the SDK. Remember this awesome guy? So what he said, when he announced the deal for software developers, he said the following. I have a transcript here. I'm going to read it to you. He said, the developer picks the price. Pick whatever price you want to sell your app at. The developer gets 70% right off the top. There are no credit card fees. We take care of all that. There are no hosting fees. We take care of all that. There are no marketing fees. It takes a deep breath, skips a beat, and then goes on. The developer gets 70% of the revenues, and it's paid monthly. So he never said he's going to promote you or do marketing for you or anything like that. Actually, what he meant, but did not say explicitly, is that the App Store is a delivery platform. They host your product. When people want it, they give it to them, charge them for it, and pay you. So they are simply a platform for delivering software applications. And so you're going to ask after these 5 random ideas, so do you mean that I need to have a business? But because if I have a business, I need to do accounting. I need to do marketing. I need to hire people and do social media. Ugh. And somebody from the back is going to jump in and say, but I'm good at programming. Precisely. That is your best and most valuable business asset. You're good at programming. Okay, so do you remember the times when I was in Berlin without a job, did not know what to do, and I did not ever want to get a job again? Lucky for me, at almost precisely this time, I read this book called The 4-Hour Workweek. And if we just take a step aside from the marketing title of this book, it has really valuable business advices. One of them is focus on what are you best at. And this will make all the change. Because if you're best at programming, you should do that. Because this means that your programming will be the best. If you're best at programming, then it means that your art is probably shit. And it means that your marketing probably hurts your sales instead of helping them. So if you are best at this, then do that. Take the most out of what you're good at and leave the rest to other people that are good at what they're good at. So I did this. From this moment on, I started doing only what I wanted to do and what I felt I was good at. And this led me to a couple of things that I'm really proud of. And for example, one thing that I'm really proud of is this screenshot that I keep in a folder on my desktop. And just to give you an overview, here at the top is Doodleboot HD Free. Below we see Photoshop, MobileMe, things like Life and The Guardian, Picasa, and so forth. And whenever I feel down, I open this image and I say, good job, Maren. Because I really put my best into this app, and then seeing it to go to the top was feeling fantastic. I did also other things. I said, maybe programming I really feel good about, but maybe I can do other things that I like. For example, did a video course. So this website called Udemy came to me some years ago, and they said, we want to make video courses on the internet. And I said, who's doing that? Video courses on the internet? But what? I never heard about this. That's not going to fly. They said, we're going to do it anyway. So, more than 5,000 people took this course about creating games on the iPhone. And that was great because they were like, Marin, good job. And I was like, thank you. So, and I really enjoyed doing that. So I did not do any marketing for it. I did not do any accounting for it. I did not do any hiring for it. I let those guys do this, and I just focused on what I felt good about, which was creating the content, coming up with the programming examples, recording the stuff. So all this turned out well for me because I had really a lot of fun while doing that. And then I said, okay, I like programming, and I like writing. How about writing about programming? So I teamed up with this awesome guy called Ray Wenlick, and we worked on a number of books. And this is the most fun I have doing probably anything. Because I have creative freedom, I can focus on coming up with the code, coming up with how to explain it, and then Ray sells it because he has a super awesome, popular website. If I sell my books, nobody's going to buy them. Simply because I have maybe 30 to 40,000 people coming to my website a month. And he has endless people coming to his website. So he does one part of the product, I do a different part of the product. Everybody, I mean, he also writes for these books, right? We team up and we write different chapters for them and so forth. But I don't do my own marketing and I don't really sell it myself because I'm not good at it. I don't have the time to talk to banks and shit. It doesn't really make sense for me. It will only bring me negative energy if I'm to talk to payment providers and handle all the payments and things like this. And so I did also open source just because it's fun, just because it made me feel good. And actually it made me much better programmer because all the crazy people will come to my GitHub repo and argue about stuff. And sometimes they're right. So I actually learned so much by doing this. I have a newsletter that I send around to people for free just because I have so much good time doing this. And finally, let's come back to Doodle Doodle. So what happened there? You will say, all of you say is valid, but how about those minus 300 something euros? Well, since we were sure that we're not going to make any money off this product, I focused on shipping the best code I feel I can write, just for fun. And soon after we launched on the App Store, I received an email from a company. And they said, we want to give you money. So what they said was, we want to have our own keyboard, and we want to license your source code. Not your content, not the smileys you have, because we have our own content. We want to license your source code because we went over a number of keyboard apps on the App Store, and yours really digs into details nobody else does. And I know what they mean, because, for example, when you're scrolling, this horizontal scrolling there, if you scroll to a position that just leaves half of one of these things visible, after you stop, just after a split second, just not to bother you, but just to help you, the horizontal scroll will just slide a little bit more, just so you can see the full one. So things like that. I had so much fun to make it. And then these guys saw it, and then actually they bought a license to use my source code. So this actually paid for all my time that we invested into this. So I tend to say that putting an extra effort into this actually brought great things. And the most important of all, I have time to enjoy myself. I have time to go to vacation. I have time to work on what I like. I can team up with people that I like. And all of this ensures that when I sit to work, I can do my best just then. I'm relaxed, I'm not stressed, nobody's toxic around me, so I can just do my best code. So then what? You will say, is there an apocalypse or isn't there an apocalypse? Can we make an app over the weekend and launch it and get rich or not? Well, the App Store is still there. You can make money on it. If you act accordingly to the industry age, you can make money. Sure, you can have a business on the App Store. Running like headless chicken and launching things to the App Store like 5 years ago does not work anymore. But maybe if you sit down and plan it and maybe team up with awesome people, get to know people who can promote your product and so forth, then you can do it. I mean, just look at 5 years ago. We thought 15,000 apps, everything's done. No, it was not done. And it's not done now. There's still much more to do on the App Store. And if you don't like the iOS App Store, you can go to the Mac App Store. It's basically this vast emptiness with only garbage in it. So there's so much money to be made there. You can have a business there really quickly. This is a Mac app. I know these guys. There are two guys. They worked on this for about a year, and it's an amazing app on the App Store. You can draw ASCII art with your mouse. It's simply amazing. And it costs money, and people will buy it because it's an awesome app. It's a lot of effort to produce, and it's a lot of fine detail, and it's just great. Or if you're sick of making apps and Apple is harassing you, then, well, you can go to the web. For example, this guy I know, Cesare Rocchi, he said, I'm sick of app review. I don't want to ever go to app review. So what he does now is web services that are somehow related to the App Store, but does not depend on Apple. So, for example, the screenshot is from a website called AppVersion.io. So this website just pings you when there's a new version of an app that you're interested in. So it does not depend in any way on Apple. It just checks the App Store, sees if there's a new version of an app that you're monitoring, pings you, that's it. So he leveraged his iOS experience on the web. And he looks much more relaxed. And you can do other things like open source. But you will say open source is free. That is true. However, I personally have had customers come to me because of each of the open source libraries I launched. Because people say, wow, everything's there and it looks good, so we just want that, but customly tailored for our needs. And I say, okay, but I charge a lot. And they say, fine. So it really works like that. Sure, of course. And you can, I don't know, if you don't want to be alone, then you can team up with people. People are great. iPhone developers and basically programmers are awesome because they share your interests. Everything's perfect. You can even get hired. I mean, having a job is not that bad if you don't feel stuck like me at this horrible job. So if you feel good and if you feel happy, then it's perfect. And I mean, let's look at this jobs these days. Organic beef, unlimited beer. I mean, this is just awesome. So in the worst case, you can be independent by being employed also. So the industry is just getting into youth now. We have awesome technology, we have a super platform, and we are the experts because we were here first in the infancy of this industry. So we are experts that are developing conceptually new solutions thanks to a groundbreaking technology in an industry that is in its infancy age. So this is amazing times to be a developer. You just need to be more persistent, put more effort, deliver awesome stuff. Thank you.